My sister claimed I wasn't aesthetic enough for her influencer party and mom told me not to go, so I stayed home, and what happened after still haunts our family. This wasn't just about money. It was about a betrayal so cold-blooded, so deeply personal, it felt like my own family had gutted me and left me for dead. I was used, and the moment I finally saw them for what they were, something inside me shattered, and then it rebuilt itself, stronger than ever. I was sitting on my threadbare couch, sweat trickling down my neck despite the sun having set in. Hour ago, my ancient air conditioner rattled and wheezed like an old man with emphysema, pushing out air barely cooler than the Nevada evening outside. Another repair bill I couldn't afford. My phone screen glowed in the dimness. I scrolled through Instagram mindlessly until my thumb froze. The image burned into my retinas: crystal blue water, designer sunglasses, and familiar faces. My mother, laughing, a cocktail raised high. My father's arm draped around someone in a white linen shirt. And my sister, Brioni, poised at the center of it all, radiant in a coral bikini I paid for last month. I zoomed in, my stomach hollowing out as I recognized more faces. Aunt Carol, Cousin Jasmine, even Mr. Weston from my parents' church group. Everyone. They invited everyone. The caption read, "Summer vibes with my favorite people. Blessed. Influencer life. Pool party. Extravaganza." My finger hovered over the screen, trembling slightly. Just 2 days ago, my mother had called me, her voice chirping with excitement. "Brioni's hosting this big influencer pool party near Lake Las Vegas," she'd said. "It's going to be simply marvelous." I had waited for the invitation, the details, the time. Instead, her voice had dropped. Lower, conspiratorial. "Honey, Brioni's trying to keep things on brand. You know, no work boots or construction shirts in the background." The silence stretched between us as I processed her words. "I understand, Mom," I finally replied, my voice steady while my heart hammered against my ribs. "Hope it goes well." Now, staring at these photos, I understood perfectly. It went wonderfully. Without me. I closed Instagram and opened my banking app. The numbers stared back at me. Last month's transfers. To my parents, $850. The automatic payment to Brioni's car insurance, $212. The canceled cabin reservation, $1,600. That was supposed to be my first vacation in 3 years. The cabin money went to Brioni's party instead. I knew it without asking. I dropped my phone and looked around my apartment, the peeling linoleum in the kitchen, the water stain on the ceiling that had grown to resemble Australia, the single fan circulating hot air, because I couldn't afford to replace the air conditioning unit. Meanwhile, I managed six-figure projects at work, supervising crews that respected me, earning a salary that should afford me more than this. But my money vanished before it ever reached my bank account, siphoned away by family obligations that began after the 2008 crash took my parents' auto parts store. They never recovered. Neither did Brioni, who spent 6 years bouncing between majors before launching a series of failed business ventures. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a receipt. Brioni's influencer course, $1,200, paid by me. Last week. My refrigerator hummed in the background, nearly empty except for a half-gallon of milk and some wilting celery. My stomach growled, but I ignored it as I stared at my worn work boots by the door. The boots that weren't on-brand enough for my sister's carefully curated world. Something shifted inside me. Not the familiar hot flare of resentment that burns out quickly, but something colder, steadier, a certainty crystallized in my chest. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. "Mike? It's Tessa. Remember that favor you mentioned at the family Christmas party? I think I'd like to take you up on it." I hung up 30 minutes later and immediately dialed again. "Jared? It's me. How backed up are service calls for holiday weekends these days?" For the first time in years, I smiled. Not the practice smile I wear for family photos or when they ask for just one more small loan. This smile belonged only to me. Enough. 2 days later, the vinyl booth at Dusty's Diner squeaked as I slid in across from Mike. My cousin. Hunched over his coffee, his blue uniform shirt still carrying the dust from his morning service. Calls. We hadn't spoken in 3 months, not since I helped him replace his roof shingles over a sweltering April weekend. His eyebrows lifted when I placed my phone face down on the table instead of checking it obsessively. A deliberate choice. You look different, he said, stirring a third sugar packet into his mug. Bad different or good different, I can't tell yet. I smoothed my hands over the laminated menu, though I already knew I'd order the same thing I always do. Turkey club, no. Mayo, fries instead of slaw. I need a favor, I said, my voice steady. No preamble, no small talk. About his kids or my parents. Mike set down his spoon with a clink. Must be serious if you're skipping the part where you ask about Jenny's softball tournament. A waitress appeared, pad in hand. I ordered my usual. Mike got the meatloaf special. When she left, Mike leaned forward. So what's this favor? Do you need help moving another roof? I took a sip of ice water, letting the cold slide down my throat. You handle the maintenance scheduling for the Lake Las Vegas area, right? He nodded slowly, wariness creeping into his expression. The July 4th weekend, I said. I was wondering if that block has been assigned for routine maintenance yet. Mike's eyes narrowed. 20 years of family gatherings meant he knew about Brioni, about the money, about the one-sided relationship I'd maintained with my parents since their business collapsed. Tessa, he said quietly, you know that's not how maintenance scheduling works. We don't just randomly shut off power to neighborhoods. I folded my napkin into a perfect triangle. Unless there's a need for preventative maintenance on high-usage holiday weekends, the kind that gets scheduled months in advance, the kind that would require paperwork. Mike took a long drink of coffee, the kind that would need a legitimate reason, like stress testing during peak usage to prevent cascading failures. I met his eyes. Exactly the kind of responsible planning envy energy prides itself on. The waitress returned with our food. Neither of us spoke while she arranged plates and refilled drinks. When she was gone, Mike cut into his meatloaf. You're saying you want that block on the July 4th rotation? For the first time in days, I felt my lips curve upward. Not quite a smile, but something close to it. Just following protocol, right? I broke a French fry in half. Safety first. Mike studied me for a long moment. This about that fancy party Brioni's throwing? Aunt Paula mentioned it when she called to skip Jenny's birthday dinner. Something about a networking opportunity too important to miss. The familiar pang of rejection twisted inside me, but it was duller now, overshadowed by something stronger. Did she mention I'm paying for it? I asked. My phone vibrated again. Mom calling for the 7th time. I sent it to voicemail and took another satisfying sip of wine. The messages grew more desperate as the night wore on. Tessa, call me right now. We need your help. Mom, 11:14 p.m. Your sister is having a breakdown. This is serious. Mom, 11:38 p.m. Do you know someone at the power company? This is an emergency. Dad, 12:03 a.m. I had 3 sponsors there. My career is over. Call me back. Brioni, 12:17 a.m. I powered off my phone at 1:06 a.m. and slept better than I have in years. The pounding on my door started at 7:38 the next morning. Tessa Lynn McBride, open this door right now. Mom's voice, shrill and commanding, penetrated my peaceful morning routine. I took my time, rinsing my coffee mug before walking to the door. I opened it to find 3 red-faced McBrides, crowded in my narrow hallway. Mom pushed past me first, the scent of her expensive perfume overwhelming in my small space. Dad followed, his jaw clenched tight enough to crack walnuts. Brioni trailed behind, oversized sunglasses hiding what I assumed were puffy, tear-stained eyes. Where have you been? Mom demanded, dropping her designer purse on my kitchen counter. We've been calling all night. I was sleeping. I closed the door slowly. Is there an emergency? Dad snorted. Don't Play dumb, Tessa. You know exactly what happened. I looked at each of them one by one. I know. Brioni's party didn't go well. I saw the posts. Didn't go well? Brioni yanked off her sunglasses. Her eyes were bloodshot, makeup smeared despite obvious attempts to fix it. It was a complete disaster. The power went out for 5 hours. Do you have any idea what happens to an infinity pool? House in July with no air conditioning. I imagine it gets hot, I said. Hot, she shrieked. People were passing out. Influencers with millions of followers were posting about my failed event. All night, the brand partnership I was counting on pulled out this morning. Mom stepped forward, switching tactics. Her voice softened to the cajoling tone she uses when she wants something. Honey, we need your help. Your father called the power company, but they said it was scheduled maintenance. Surely you can talk to someone. You need to fix this, Dad said, not asking but telling. Your sister's reputation is on the line. I looked at all 3 of them, standing in my shabby apartment. Not one had asked how I was. Not one had even glanced around to notice the peeling linoleum or the water stains spreading across my ceiling from last month's leak. Wait here, I said. I walked to my bedroom and opened the bottom drawer of my dresser. The manila folder was right where I left it, carefully labeled Family Financial Records. I carried it back to the living room where they'd made themselves comfortable on my couch. Before we discuss Brioni's party, I want to show you something. I opened the folder and spread the contents on my coffee table. Bank statements, transfer records, text message screenshots, all meticulously organized by date. What's all this? Dad asked, irritation edging his voice. This, I said, pointing to the first document, is a record of every penny I've given this family over the past 4 years. Mom's face changed. Tessa, this isn't the time to. I've transferred $18,300 to Brioni this year. Alone. I slid the bank statement toward her. That's not counting the $4,600 I gave you and Dad for the roof repair in February. Or the $2,800 for Brioni's emergency wisdom tooth extraction that her influencer insurance didn't cover. Brioni rolled her eyes. You just don't understand creative branding. This was an investment in my career, our family's future. I looked directly at her. You've been building a fantasy, and I've been paying for it. The room went silent. Dad's face darkened to a dangerous red. Mom's mouth opened and closed without sound. As of today, I continued, my voice steadier than I felt, I am no longer financially responsible for any of you. The automatic transfers have been canceled. The credit card Brioni was authorized to use has been deactivated. You can't do that. Dad sputtered. I already have. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Right on cue. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? What exactly have you done for me, Mom? When was the last time any of you asked about my life, my apartment, my happiness? That's not fair, Dad said, standing up. We're family. Family sticks together. Family doesn't exclude family from parties because they wear work boots instead of designer heels. The words burst out of me, sharper than intended. Brioni's face flushed. That's what this is about? You ruined my career because you didn't get an invitation to my networking event. I shook my head. No, Brioni, I didn't ruin anything. I simply stopped preventing the inevitable. Your career was built on my credit cards and bank account. It was never sustainable. You had no right. Mom whispered. I had every right. I gathered the papers back into the folder. Now I have a question. For all of you. When was the last time any of you thanked me? When was the last time you showed up? For me, the way I've shown up for you. The silence was my answer. I think it's time for you to leave. Dad stood, looming over me with the intimidation tactic that worked when I was younger. You'll regret this, Tessa, when you need us. I've needed you for years, I interrupted. I just finally realized you were never going to be there. This isn't over. Brioni hissed as Mom pulled her toward the door. Actually, it is. I held the door open. I'm going on vacation next week, my first in 3 years. Don't try to contact me. They filed out, Mom's shoulders shaking with Dramatic sobs, Dad's back rigid with anger, Brioni glaring daggers. I closed the door behind them and slid the deadbolt into place with a satisfying click. For the first time in my adult life, I had put myself first, and it felt like freedom. After they left, I opened my laptop and pulled up my bank account. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a beat, then I typed in a new password, one they couldn't possibly guess. Not my birthday, not my first pet. Something completely unrelated to the life I'd shared with them. 14 accounts needed changing: bank accounts, credit cards, investment portfolio, email, Netflix. Even my damn library card account, which Mom had used to check out self-help books she never reads. I made a list and worked through it methodically, the way I approach construction projects. Each password changed felt like another brick in a wall I was building between us. Each click of the mouse was the sound of a door locking. Miss McBride. My landlord sounded confused. When I called, "You want to change the door code? Is there a problem?" "Just a security precaution," I said, keeping my voice casual. Had a small issue with family members showing up unannounced. Today, he didn't ask questions. Why would he? In 4 years, I'd never been late with rent. Never complained about the faulty air conditioner. Never called at midnight about a leaking pipe. I opened my budget spreadsheet and deleted the recurring transfers to Mom, Dad, and Brioni. The numbers jumped off the screen: $1,955.70 monthly. My savings potential. My freedom fund. That night, I slept better than I have in years. On my vacation day, the airport felt like another world. I clutched my passport and used until today and tried to calm the anxious flutter in my stomach. The boarding pass to Costa Rica felt voice casual. Mike shook his head. "You're still bankrolling them? After all this time?" "Not for much longer." I reached for the ketchup. "That's what the favor's about." He sighed, shoulders slumping. "That Lake Las Vegas property has those fancy backup generators, you know? Rich people don't stay inconvenienced for long." "I've thought of that." I took a bite of my sandwich, chewing thoroughly before continuing. "That's why I'm meeting Jared after this." Mike's eyebrows shot up. "HVAC Jared? From your old construction site?" I nodded. "The very one. Did you know he handles emergency repair calls for that area now? Including backup systems inspection?" Understanding dawned on Mike's face. He whistled low. "You're not just cutting the power, you're making sure those backups don't kick in." "I'm ensuring proper maintenance of all systems," I corrected him. "Safety first, remember." Mike put down his fork, studying me with new eyes. "This isn't like you, Tess. Isn't it?" I took another bite, speaking around it. "I've been cleaning up everyone else's messes for years. Maybe it's time they experienced what that feels like." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, power outages for that zone would have to happen at exactly 6:50 p.m. Maintenance window of exactly 90 minutes. He scribbled something on his napkin. That's if someone wanted to know the specifics. Purely hypothetical information. "I agree," I said, pocketing the napkin. Mike returned to his meatloaf. "Jenny asked about you last week. Wanted to know when Aunt Tessa was coming over. Again to teach her more poker." "Soon," I promised. "Once I take care of a few things." After lunch, I drove across town to the strip mall housing Carson Valley HVAC and Repair. Jared's battered pickup sat in the spot marked Service Manager, right where I expected it. Inside, the air conditioning blasted at Arctic levels. Jared looked up from his desk, phone pressed to his ear. He waved me to the chair across from him, holding up one finger. "Yes, ma'am," he said to the caller. "I understand it's inconvenient, but holiday weekends are our busiest time. Backlogged service. Calls, you understand." Our eyes met. Something passed between us, recognition of a shared understanding about people who expect immediate service, regardless of circumstance. 3 to 5 business days, he continued. That's the best we can do. Yes, even for preferred customers. When he hung up, he leaned back in his chair. Tessa McBride. Been what, 8 months? 9, I corrected him, since the Sierra Vista project. He nodded. What brings you to my humble temperature control empire? AC finally died in that apartment? I told you last summer that the unit was on its last legs. Actually, I said, placing both palms flat on his desk. I'm here about the Lake Las Vegas luxury properties, specifically their backup generator maintenance schedules. Jared's eyebrows inched upward, but he didn't look surprised. Not really. Interesting timing, he said. We just got contracted to handle their emergency service calls through August. I smiled. Not the polite, strained smile I'd worn for years at family gatherings. Something sharper, more genuine. Perfect, I said. Let me buy you a coffee. I have a proposition about some very important preventative maintenance. He reached for his keys. This wouldn't have anything to do with that. Sister of yours? The one always posting those fancy pool parties nobody actually enjoys. I thought of Brioni's Instagram feed, of my parents' faces in those photos, of the birthday dinner aunt. Rebecca was suddenly too arthritic to attend. Let's just say, I replied, some people are overdue for a reality check. Jared stood, grabbing his company cap from the hook by the door. His handshake was firm, warm, knowing. Lead the way, he said. I've always appreciated how thoroughly you plan things. As we walked to his truck, my phone buzzed with a text. Mom, asking if I could cover Brioni's car payment, just this once. I silenced it without replying. For the first time in years, I was putting myself first. And they would never see it coming. 2 days later, my phone buzzed for the 23rd time in 2 hours. I didn't need to look at it anymore. The pattern established itself within minutes of the power going out at Lake Las Vegas. First came Brioni's frantic texts. Then Mom's increasingly hysterical voice messages. Now Dad's thinly veiled accusations. I poured another glass of the Cabernet I'd been saving for a special occasion. This qualified. My laptop screen glowed in the dimness of my apartment. Social media feeds updating in real time with the spectacular implosion of my sister's influencer career. I took a sip and scrolled. Lifestyle with Megan. What kind of luxury influencer hosts an event with no backup generators? Sweatfest 2025. Makeup meltdown. Travel with Josh. Pro tip. When temps hit 110 degrees, don't trap 60 people in a house with no AC. My photographer's equipment is ruined. Never again. Beauty by Ava. Had to leave Brioni McBride's event early. 2 words, heat exhaustion. Currently at urgent care, getting 4 fluids. Disaster party. The crown jewel appeared at 10:47 p.m. A photo of Brioni. Mascara streaking down her flushed face. Hair plastered to her forehead. Desperately fanning herself with what appeared to be a soggy promotional brochure. Her caption read, Universe is testing me. All lost. Everything. Influencer fail. I screenshot it for posterity. Wrong in my hand, like I'd stolen someone else's ticket to happiness. First time flying? The woman beside me in the boarding line smiled. Her gray hair was cropped short, and she wore hiking boots. That had seen plenty of trails. First time leaving the country, I admitted. First vacation in. God, I can't even remember. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. Those are often the best kind. The plane lifted off, and I watched Las Vegas shrink beneath me. The vast, sprawling city with all its neon promises and my family's constant demands becoming nothing more than a speck in the desert. For 3 weeks, I didn't think about bank accounts or family obligations. I hiked through rainforests, feeling the weight of humidity in my lungs instead of the weight of responsibility on my shoulders. I ate at local restaurants where nobody knew my name or needed anything from me. I took photographs not for anyone's social media feed, but because the sunset over the Pacific Ocean made me feel small in the best possible way. I swam in the ocean at sunrise, made friends with a 70-year-old British woman who told wild stories about her life as a war correspondent, learned 10 Spanish phrases beyond gracias, and used them proudly, even when locals smiled at my pronunciation. The Tessa who boarded the plane back to Las Vegas walked differently, stood taller, laughed louder. My skin had darkened under the Central American sun, and something inside me had lightened. The first sign something was wrong came when I put my key in the apartment door. It turned too, easily, as if the lock had been recently used. I paused, listening for sounds inside, then pushed the door open. Nothing looked disturbed at first glance. The same shabby couch, the same dying plant. I forgot to ask a neighbor to water. But as I walked through to the bedroom, I noticed small things. The dresser drawer wasn't fully closed. A book on my nightstand was at a different angle than I'd left it. My stomach dropped when I checked the window. The spare key lockbox was broken open, its metal frame bent and empty. I rushed to my closet, pushed aside winter coats, and felt along the top shelf. The envelope that should contain $2,400 in emergency cash was gone, not just the money, the entire envelope. No, I whispered, the word heavy in my throat. My hands shook as I pulled my filing cabinet open. The drawer slid out too easily, too smoothly, like it had been recently accessed. I flipped through folders, birth certificate, social security card, tax returns, medical records, all gone. My laptop booted up slowly, painfully. I logged into my credit monitoring service, a precaution I'd maintained since a colleague had her identity stolen 2 years ago. The screen loaded and the breath left my body. 3 new credit cards opened in my name, a personal loan application, pending all within the past 3 weeks while I was swimming in Costa Rica and believing I was finally free. I tracked the digital footprints with the skills I'd learned from years of documenting construction projects. The credit card applications were submitted from an IP address I recognized, my parents' home network. The confirmation emails were sent to an address I'd seen countless times on Family Financial Matters, Brioni's backup Gmail account. My phone buzzed with a text. It was from Brioni. Hey stranger, how was your trip? Let's catch up soon, miss you. The walls of my apartment seemed to close in. I stood in the center of my living room, surrounded by evidence of the most intimate betrayal possible. They didn't just take my money this time. They took my identity, my future, my trust. And they timed it perfectly, waiting until I was thousands of miles away, celebrating what I thought was my clean break. The realization settled in my chest like concrete hardening. They never saw me as family. I was never their daughter or sister. I was an account to withdraw from, a resource to exploit, a mark. When the tears came, they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of clarity, of fear transformed into resolve. I picked up my phone and called a number I never thought I'd need. Las Vegas Police Department. How can I direct your call? The police station smelled like industrial cleaner and burnt coffee. 15 minutes later, I sat on a hard plastic chair, still wearing the wrinkled sundress and sandals from my flight. My tan lines marked the difference between the woman who left 3 weeks ago and the one who returned today. Miss McBride. The officer appeared in the doorway, notepad in hand. Detective Ramirez can see you now. I followed her down a hallway lined with motivational posters that had yellowed at the edges. The detective's office was cramped but organized, stacks of folders arranged in precise rows, a computer screen glowing with active case files. Detective Ramirez didn't look up when I entered. She was studying my printed bank statements with a furrowed brow that had carved permanent lines into her forehead. Have a seat, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk without looking up. I perched on the edge, back straight, hands folded in my lap, the position my father used to call my teacher's pet pose. Whenever I'd bring home another A, I've reviewed everything you sent in. Advance, Ramirez said, finally meeting my eyes. But I'd like to hear from you. I took a deep breath and began. My voice didn't waver as I detailed each transaction, each betrayal. The detective's pen scratched against her notepad, punctuating my account like a metronome. While I was in Costa Rica, they entered my apartment using a spare key they must have obtained from my landlord. In case of emergency, they took my social security card, birth certificate, and the personal documents I keep in my fire safe. My finger tapped each item listed in my police report. They used that information to open 3 credit cards and apply for a personal loan of $20,000. Ramirez nodded. And you have proof it was your family specifically? I pulled out my phone, opened the folder labeled evidence, and passed it to her. The IP address on the credit applications matches my parents' home network. The confirmation emails were sent to an account belonging to my sister but accessed through that same IP. The security camera at my complex shows my father's car in the visitor parking area on the 7th of June at 2:18 p.m. I was in Manuel Antonio National Park at that exact time. The detective scrolled through the photos, nodding slightly. You've done my job for me, Ms. McBride. I've spent my life cleaning up their messes. I'm good at documentation. She handed back my phone. Do you want to press charges? The question hung in the air between us. This was the moment, the fulcrum upon which my future balanced. Behind me, years of exploitation, disguised as family loyalty. Ahead, uncertain terrain, but mine to shape. I met her eyes. Absolutely. My phone buzzed when I went to the motel that day. Mother's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. 3 more notifications popped up in quick succession. Tessa, call me immediately. The police just left. How could you do this to your own mother? After everything we've sacrificed for you? Your father is beside himself. Is this how he raised you to behave? I turned off notifications and made a new plan in my temporary motel room. By evening, the barrage continued through every possible channel. A voicemail from Mother, her voice breaking. When you were 7, you had pneumonia, and I stayed up for 3 nights straight watching you breathe. How can you forget that? How can you do this to the mother who gave you life? A text from Dad, you're destroying the family. Name. Is that what you want? To drag McBrides through the mud? Think about what you're doing. Instagram story from Brioni showed her red-rimmed eyes gazing soulfully at the camera. The caption. Read, family isn't supposed to hurt you. Betrayed. Prayers needed. Vulnerability is strength. She'd tagged me, ensuring her followers knew exactly who to blame. I blocked them all with 3 quick taps and turned my attention to the email from the district attorney's office confirming tomorrow's appointment. Next Monday, the DA's office occupied the 5th floor of the county courthouse. Martha Odom's handshake was firm, her gaze direct. She didn't offer platitudes or small talk as she spread the evidence across her desk. Frankly, Ms. McBride, this is one of the clearest cases of identity theft I've seen. The paper trail is. She paused, tapping my meticulously organized folders. Comprehensive. Will it be enough? She nodded, leaning back in her chair. More than enough. For arrest warrants. The identity theft alone carries up to 5 years. Add the breaking and entering the fraud. She whistled softly. They're looking at serious consequences. They'll claim it was a misunderstanding, that they were just trying to help me. With what? Draining your credit? Taking out loans in your name? She shook her head. No jury would buy that, especially with their history of financial dependence on you. When will they be arrested? Warrants will be processed today. Officers will likely serve them tomorrow morning. I nodded, surprising myself with my own calm. Thank you. 3 weeks later, I walked into courtroom 4B with my back straight and my gaze steady. The wooden bench creaked as I took my seat, alone on the plaintiff's side. Across the aisle, they huddled. Together, Mother dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, Dad's hand placed protectively on her shoulder. Brioni's face a careful mask of wounded innocence. They'd dressed for the role of sympathetic defendants, Mother in a modest blue dress that made her look older, Dad in his only suit, Brioni in a high-necked blouse that contradicted every outfit she'd posted on Instagram. Their attorney looked confident, smiling reassuringly at them as he arranged papers on the defense table. Their confidence wavered when the bailiff called us to rise, and Judge Sanderson entered. The judge was a woman in her 60s with silver haircut and a practical bob. She reviewed the case file with narrowed eyes, occasionally glancing over her glasses at my family. The preliminary hearing proceeded with clinical efficiency. The prosecutor presented the evidence: screenshots of credit applications, bank records, security footage, IP address logs. With each new exhibit, my family's posture deteriorated further. Brioni took the stand first, tears welling in her eyes. "I just wanted to help my sister," she said, voice breaking perfectly on cue. "She worked so hard, and I thought if I could just get my influencer career going, I could finally pay her back for everything." The prosecutor approached with my bank statements. "Is that why you used her credit to purchase a $4,200 designer handbag the day after obtaining the fraudulent card?" Brioni blinked, her performance momentarily disrupted. "That was an investment in my brand image." Mother and father offered similar performance tales of misunderstanding, claims of good intentions. Dad even suggested they had verbal permission to access my finances. The judge's expression grew increasingly severe with each testimony. When all evidence had been presented, she removed her glasses and addressed my family directly. "In my 30 years on the bench, I've seen many forms of theft. But this," she tapped the file before her, "this isn't just theft. It's betrayal of the worst kind." A month later, the key turned in the lock with a satisfying click into my new apartment. Something about this sound, this simple, ordinary sound, made my chest expand. The real estate agent handed over 2 copies, not the usual 3. "Just the 2 keys?" she asked, eyebrow raised. "Just 2, I confirmed, sliding them into my pocket. "One for me, one for the lockbox." The condo spread before me, empty and full of possibility. Sunlight streamed through windows that actually opened. The air conditioner hummed quietly, effectively. 3 security cameras monitored the entrance. I walked the rooms alone after she left. My footsteps echoed against hardwood floors that didn't creak. The refrigerator didn't wheeze. The shower pressure didn't fluctuate. Everything worked as designed, a novel concept. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced at the screen. Aiden from work inviting me hiking this weekend. I texted back immediately. "Count me in." That evening, I sat at my new kitchen counter, staring at the envelope that arrived this morning. The first restitution check. Not huge, but symbolic. Tomorrow, I'd open an account at Mountain America Credit Union, a fresh start at a bank where my family had no history. My financial advisor, Janice, called yesterday about investment options. "You've got a solid foundation to build on now," she told me. My retirement account had begun to grow again. So had my emergency fund, and my vacation fund, and my just because I want it fund. Sleep came easily now. No more 3 a.m. panic attacks about making the rent or covering Brioni's credit card payment. No more stress headaches. No more grinding my teeth until my jaw ached. During my Tuesday therapy session, Dr. Marshall watched me describe my mother's letter. "You haven't opened it?" he asked. "Not yet," I replied, surprised by my lack of urgency. "I'll get to it." "What's different now?" he asked. I considered this. Time is mine again. My money is mine. My decisions are mine. 3 days later, Dad called. His voice carried that strange mix of defensiveness and apology. "Tessa, your mother and I have been talking." "What happened with your sister's cards?" "We never meant for things to go that far." I listened, letting the silence stretch between his stammered excuses. "We're still family," he finally said. "Family means something different to me now," I replied. That night, my phone pinged with an Instagram notification. Brioni had tagged me in a post, a professionally shot photo of her looking contemplative by a window. Caption reading, "Family means forgiveness, healing, new beginnings, sisterhood." I stared at it for a long moment, then set my phone aside without responding. Saturday evening, my new living room filled with laughter. Kate from accounting brought homemade salsa. Mike and his wife arrived with a houseplant. Aiden brought photos from our hike. Teresa, my Neighbor brought 2 friends who quickly felt like mine. My phone lit up with another notification. From Brioni. I turned it face down on the counter without checking. Everything okay? Teresa asked. Noticing. Perfect, I said, and meant it, just choosing my priorities. These people wanted nothing from me except my company. They didn't need my money or my sacrifice or my silence. They just wanted me. My family, they didn't love me, they loved what I could give. When I stopped giving, they showed me who they really were. But in doing so, they showed me something even more important, who I could be.